Happy New Year and welcome to the New Thrive Radio Show. I am your host, Delvyn, and I'm excited that you tune in to our second episode. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to the Heat 97.3 for giving me this opportunity to talk about things that I believe is very important for us to thrive and succeed in life. Today, we're going to be talking about values and how it affects our decisions and choices that we make within our lives. Now, there's a lot for us to unpack today, so stay tuned.
I'm a 24/7 dad, and that's the way that it's always gonna be. And it's not to stand up here and pat myself on the back, it is what it is. But if I'm not a 24/7 dad, who's gonna raise my kids? Because I remember as a young boy being raised on BET and MTV, being told it's nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. I didn't realize nothing wrong with a little bump and grind was a lie till she told me she was pregnant, then I swore that the baby wasn't mine. If it looked good, I thought it was good. If it felt right, I thought it was right. I had this whole casual attitude thing going on about life until I got into some situations that thumped me on side of the head. Some of those ill-advised decisions I made back then, I still dread. If I knew then what I know now, it's a pretty good chance I'll be further along. I did a 360 and wisdom is in me, but sometimes it takes a lifetime to restore those things that you did wrong. But one thing I can say for certain is that I'm gonna make sure my kids don't have to travel that same road. Because me being a 24/7 dad, I can lead by example and at the same time, let the truth be told. So it's all about making that decision, but I'm gonna leave that entirely up to you. If you can sincerely say that you love your children the way that I do, I see you when you come through.
So today we're talking about values and how it impacts the decisions and choices that we make within our lives. Now, I believe it's important for us to unpack this today because there have been so many unfortunate situations that has happened in the recent past due to some of the things that we may value. In a lot of instances, values can be like beauty in the eye of the beholder. The beholder is one who looks at something. The value of the thing being looked at depends on the person that's looking. If I don't value it, it has no value to me. That also means that things are valued differently by different people. What some people value, others may not, and vice versa. So let's look at it like this. I remember when I was playing high school basketball, and I would always look at certain platforms to see exactly how did people view me or what was the value that they placed on me being a basketball player. I remember looking at ESPN and they would have the top 100 players, and those players would be all throughout the nation, and they will rank you on where they believe that you fit amongst those players. If you look in the NBA, for instance, there are a lot of team owners that place value on an individual than they may do others. It's noted if you're drafted in the top 10 in the NBA, you could potentially make about $5 to $14 million just being drafted in the top 10. So some of those owners that pick those players in the top 10, they value them so much that they're willing to pay that much money because they're believing that this player is going to come to the team, is going to attract ticket holders, and there's going to be a lot of sports apparel, you name it. When it comes down to some of these owners picking these players that's in the top 10, what ends up happening sometimes is that they don't turn out to be as good as some of the players that barely got drafted. I remember growing up in Michigan, and there was a player by the name of Ben Wallace that actually went undrafted. And even though he went undrafted, he was a 4-time all-defensive player in the NBA. Even though those owners paid so much money for players they was bringing in that thought they were going to be a defensive presence, Ben Wallace went unnoticed. Yet and still, he had a lot of success in the NBA. So that's a strong indication to me that sometimes what we put value in doesn't necessarily produce the outcomes that we hoped or desired. Now, this is metaphoric, and we'll get back to that more later in the show.
What's good, y'all? It's your boy Delvyn from 97.3 The Heat, and you're listening to the Thrive Morning Show. Thank you for tuning in to the second episode of Values and how it affects the decisions and choices within our lives. And be sure to check out the flyer on the website for interview requests for upcoming shows. Please let me know your thoughts, how you feel about what was talked about today, or any other feedback that you may have. If you were inspired by today's show, share it with somebody else. It might help them in the future. Thanks for tuning in to Thrive Morning Show. Let's get back to the show.
I want to share a spoken word that I perform entitled "To the Mother of My Child." Now, the whole intent of writing this spoken word was to bring awareness to fathers who may have a dysfunctional relationship with the mother of their child and also a disconnect from their biological children. What ends up happening is that sometimes, especially when you're younger, I mean, even when you're older, but particularly when you're younger, you make certain decisions and choices that not only affects you, but affects others, as we discussed last week when we talked about unhealthy habits. And when that happens, it can be a root of self-centeredness. You may be an individual who is looking out for yourself and not the needs of others. And then a lot of times, what happens is that being brought up in a society that pretty much glorifies me, myself, and I, you're looking out for your own interests and not the interests of others. But this particular song talks about valuing family, valuing having a relationship with your child, and also trying to effectively co-parent with the mother of your child. So right after the spoken word, we'll get right back to the show.
I realized that I was in the wrong. I had to let my pride go to say that I was wrong. But now I know. How can a man treat a woman so low and not recognize what he's done until maturity grows? I wifed you, but you wasn't my wife. To have sex, I smooth talked you on many nights. That wasn't right. It was cruel. I was a straight up fool. Despite my efforts, I could see why you don't want to be cool. Your emotions I abuse, totally misuse off of my benefit, just to see how far I can get. Ain't that a trip? It's like I had it all mapped out until you couldn't trust the word I said that came out my mouth. I said things that you wanted to hear. Sweet nothings with the intent to keep you near, but I pushed you away. Several years and we don't talk to this day. From what I done, you feel the need to keep my child away, but can I blame you? At the time, I was full of pride. I had you tested to see if the baby was mine. 99.9% it read, then reality struck. Looked in your eyes and I could tell that you was fed up. Went through the pregnancy all by yourself. Your family that disowned you was where you turned for help. You had nobody else. I can't imagine the pain I put you through. But at the time I shifted the blame all on you. You became a mother. I was running the streets, you was changing diapers. I was a deadbeat. While you was stressing, I was out and about sexing as if I didn't have a child. It's hitting me hard now. I fought for visitations to spend time with my daughter, cause one day I realized that I was her father. You wanted me not to bother. I can't blame you for that. So keeping her away from me is how you paying me back. But can I blame you? I know the man upstairs sees my hurt. He blessed me with a family after I put him first. But I'm still weary. Though I change, you refuse to hear me. I'm seeking God so my emotions don't turn to fury. My child's getting older, I'm not getting younger. I just want to see her so I can tell her daddy loves her. Want her to see her brothers and spend time with her granny. She's in her 60s and not seeing her makes her unhappy. And plus she has an auntie with cousins near her age. I couldn't change my past, but I did change my ways. I enjoy being the parent, showing my sons love. And I want to do the same for her when you let go of that grudge. But like I said, I can't blame the way that you feel. I'm man enough to admit my mistakes. I'm just being real, so I apologize for things you'll never forget. I just hope that you're not a mother that our child resents when she understands.
So in our society, sometimes there's a strong indication of how many people value a certain thing over another, due to the amount of people that's supporting that value. Not to make light of what happened years ago, But I remember a time when there was a significant amount of people that strongly value a chicken sandwich from Popeyes. Now, I'm not trying to get down on people that like the chicken sandwiches on Popeyes, and you might have probably been one of those individuals, but all I'm saying is that I remember that it was some extreme reactions to these chicken sandwiches that involve violence, fights, threats, and unfortunately, there was even a death over these chicken sandwiches. There was one point in time in the drive-thru that it was one person trying to get a chicken sandwich that they literally jumped right in front of the car, scraped the side of their car up just to get that chicken sandwich. I mean, they really valued that chicken sandwich. So since those chicken sandwich was in high demand and there was like oftentimes limited supply, some people have valued it so much that they were willing to hurt others if need be to purchase them. But let's take it back. I remember that, way back in the day, in my hooping days. That's why, what happened with the chicken sandwich didn't really get me to the point like, man, how could somebody do that? Because there was a time that people was doing the same thing over Air Jordans. So it was like people would basically commit violence, and even if it wasn't anything that dealt with violence, they would actually spend the night at some of the stores with tents, blankets, their little portable heaters, just to be one of the first ones to purchase the shoes. I don't know if anybody remember that. The thing is that outside of the chicken sandwiches and the Air Jordans, there has also been some people that spent the night trying to get concert tickets, or maybe trying to get the new cell phone that came out, or maybe it was a restaurant opening and they wanted to be the first ones to walk into the new restaurant. That was something that they valued, and the behavior was to do those things so they can be one of those individuals to take advantage of whatever was being presented. So, Delvyn, why are we talking about chicken sandwiches and Air Jordans and people spending the night just to get concert tickets or a restaurant opening? Man, I don't value those things. But check this out. It might seem silly to you, but if this is what people value, then they're pretty much going to do anything they can to do what they feel is important to them. And that's what we're talking about today, because some of us that may be listening may not go to the extreme of trying to hurt somebody over a chicken sandwich or cause violence to get some Air Jordans, but you might put yourself in a position to walk into a store and steal something that doesn't belong to you. And what's the risk of that? Some of us may put ourselves in a position of involving ourselves in toxic relationships because we may value something about somebody that is not particularly good for us or our relationship. There might be some values that we have that is not particularly good for us. It doesn't produce the outcome, or it's not producing what we desired that we initially thought it would, just like those team owners. So it all comes back full circle. Value is in the eye of the beholder. And what's important to one person may not be important to another person. But we want to talk about core values. We want to talk about unhealthy values or good values. I think that's something that we need to discuss. So there are some things that we just have to put in perspective, like what is something that's good for me or what's something that's unhealthy for me? And do I need to put my values in the right place? Because if I don't, it's going to affect me and it's going to affect others as well. Thanks for tuning in to Thrive Radio. We'll get back after these messages.
97.3 FM is sponsored by Gun Lake Casino.
There's always something new at GLC. Now with an all-new, all-spectacular hotel. Gun Lake has expanded with more bars and restaurants, a new high-limit tables room, a spa, and an endlessly incredible hotel. Deliciousness, relaxation, and exhilaration now on a whole new level. The all-new hotel, now open at Gun Lake Casino Resort. Book your room today at gunlakecasino.com.
Thank you, Gun Lake Casino. 97.3 FM is sponsored in part by the Sports Book for Young Athletes, College Recruiting Roadmap.
Are you a young athlete with dreams of playing your sport in college and getting a scholarship to do it? Are you a parent with a talented kid? College Recruiting Roadmap is your ultimate step-by-step guide to turning that dream into reality. Written for student athletes, parents, and coaches, this comprehensive guide takes the guesswork out of college recruitment and lays out a clear path to success. Whether you're just starting in elementary, middle school, high school, or already deep into your athletic journey, this book will help you take the right steps at the right time to stand out to college coaches. Available on Amazon.
It's the Thrive Morning Show, from a troubled past to a brighter future, on 97.3 FM.
Are you tired of the same old routine? Feeling like life's just passing you by? Then it's time for Just a Thought. Every Sunday from 10 to 11 a.m. right here on 97.3 The Heat. We'll give you the spark you need to shake things up. Fresh ideas, real talk, and a shot of new energy to help you see life differently. Stop settling for the status quo. Tune in and let's rethink what's possible together. That's Just a Thought, Sundays at 10 on 97.3 The Heat. Don't miss it.
Welcome back to the new Thrive Morning Show here on the Heat 97.3. I am your host, Delvyn, and today we're talking about values and how it affects the decisions and choices within our lives. Now, if you're just tuning in, we've already discussed that values is like in the eye of the beholder. What one person values may not be valued by another person. The value of a thing being looked at totally depends on that person. So let's talk a little bit about where do our values come from? What is it when it comes down to values that shapes our standards of behavior? In other words, whatever one may consider to be important in life. Now, traditionally speaking, the family is one of the most important and powerful sources of messages about values. A child's values come from a mix of influences, primarily their parents and family as primary role models. So children mirror their parents' actions, learning what truly matters by observing their behavior, not just hearing their words. There was a time when I would take both of my sons down to Lake Michigan because they had a playground right by the lake. They used to love going down to this playground. It was away from the city. They got a nice view of the lake, and they just really enjoy this particular spot. And I would try to take them there every weekend. But this particular day that I took my son, my youngest son, I had to go to the bathroom with him. And I remember holding his hand because right where the playground is at and also the lake, there's a parking lot where people bring their boats and their yachts. And I had to take him to the bathroom, and I'm holding his hand and he's just skipping all over the place while I'm firmly holding his hand. And there was an elderly couple that ended up seeing my son, and they were just saying, "Look at your son. He's a little wild child. He's a little wild child," you know. And so anyway, I take my son into the bathroom. I come out of the bathroom with him, and the elderly couple is right there. Once again, seeing my son jump and skip while I'm holding his hand. And they went ahead and said it again. They said, look at you, you're a little wild child. You know why? Saying it with a smile on their face. And then my son looks at me and he asks me this question. He said, "Dad, am I a little wild child?" And I said, "No, son, you're not a wild child." My son then turned to the elderly couple and said that I'm not a wild child. I'm smart, I'm intelligent, and God loves me. Now that blew me away, because every time I would drop him off at early childhood education, I would kneel down and get to his level and say, "Look, son, I want you to listen to me. You're smart, you're intelligent, and God loves you." And I would say that every time I dropped him off at school, he never made a comment about it. He just, shrugged his shoulders and went into the class and played with the friends that he had in there. But over an entire year, there was no mention about this. But when that happened and he looked at me and asked me, Dad, am I a wild child? And I told him no. He told them exactly what I would tell him each and every time I dropped him off at his school. I'm smart, I'm intelligent, and God loves me. Now, what's so significant about that is that even when you don't believe that your children is paying attention to you, they are. Being able to teach our children about honesty and kindness and respect, talking about what's important and why. My children will always ask me, Dad, why? And I remember there was a time back in the day where it was forbidden for a kid to come up and ask somebody why about something, a grown up. I mean, it was like whatever they said goes. And you a child and you need to stay out of grown folks' business. But when I had my children, when they would ask why, I found out it was important for me to try to explain myself so they can have an understanding and that they didn't have a form of rejection. So that's why I would actually answer their question why a lot of times, because I was trying to create an atmosphere of security and love.
What's good, y'all? It's your boy Delvyn from 97.3 The Heat, and you're listening to the Thrive Morning Show. Thank you for tuning in to the second episode of Values and how it affects the decisions and choices within our lives. And be sure to check out the flyer on the website for interview requests for upcoming shows. Please let me know your thoughts, how you feel about what was talked about today, or any other feedback that you may have. If you were inspired by today's show, share it with somebody else. It might help them in the future. Thanks for tuning in to Thrive Morning Show. Let's get back to the show.
So if children learn from their parents about morals, values, and the way that they should carry themselves through the actions that their parents display, what about the kids that don't have parents? Did you know that there are millions of children globally that lack parental care? In fact, there are approximately 140 million children globally that have lost one or both parents. In the United States, there are around 4% of U.S. children that live with neither parent, often with grandparents or other relatives. About 1/3 of U.S. children live with only one parent, which is the mother or the father only. And roughly 1 in 4 U.S. children, over 18 million, live in a home without a father present. So if mothers play this crucial role in nurturing, providing unconditional love, fostering security, and fathers are supposed to be the individuals that encourage independence and resilience through activity and play and prepare children for the outside world. And if kids don't have a mother or a father to sow into their lives, then how is it that we can expect certain values to be instilled in children that don't have access to it? For this very reason, I created a song called Daddy Support, because I thought it was important for fathers to do everything that they could to ensure that they will not only be involved in their child's life, but they will be present as well, teaching them, guiding them, leading by example, and doing everything that they can to let them know that they are a priority. So after you listen to the song, we'll get back to the show.
Gotta get my priorities straight. I gotta get my priorities straight. gotta get my priorities straight. I gotta get my priorities straight. I can't be reckless, I can't be foolish, I can't be wildin'. I have kids now and I gotta do right. I gotta do right, I gotta do right, I gotta do right. I can't be wildin', I can't be foolish, I can't be reckless. Gotta protect my blessings, so I gotta do right. I gotta do right, I gotta do right, I gotta do right. It's difficult staying afloat, fighting life, so my kids don't have to go through the same boat. So I walk the journey, third shift and waking up early, getting bags underneath my eyes way before age 40, cause I'm committed. Even if it means losing my life, for my life is insignificant compared to their life. So I sacrifice, deny myself and paying the price so they can have. It's my obligation as their dad, so I don't complain, even when the stakes are high. And the pain that I feel is something I can't rectify. So I stay planted into the good Lord sees fit. If I die, I pray my example won't leave but stick within their heart. While I'm alive, I'll never depart from their side. Even when I'm overpowered by pride, I'm making sure it's all about them and less of me, even if they don't appreciate it or too young to see. I can't be reckless, I can't be foolish, I can't be wildin'. I have kids now and I gotta do right. I gotta do right, I gotta do right, I gotta do right. I can't be wildin', I can't be foolish, I can't be reckless. Gotta protect my blessings, so I gotta do right. I gotta do right, I gotta do right, I gotta do right. I'm making sure my kids are in church, cause they must know the importance of seeking God first. So I stay mindful in my daily conduct and speech, empowered by the Lord, so that I may practice what I preach. Cause I'm accountable, held liable for their lives. So I read them the word, so they may know truth from the lies. Therefore I sacrifice my time and I pour out my heart, raising them in a way that they should go, so they won't depart when they get older. For them I do whatever it takes. Children are like arrows, I'm trying to shoot mine straight, teaching them to bounce back if they ever made a mistake, informing them it's impossible to please God without faith. Life is what they make it, it's what I try to convey, and that it's more action-based rather than what they say. They listening close to what I say, deciding how to take it. I apply action to what I say, so it's validated. I can't be reckless, I can't be foolish, I can't be wildin'. I have kids now and I gotta do right. I gotta do right, I gotta do right, I gotta do right. I can't be wildin', I can't be foolish, I can't be reckless. Gotta protect my blessings, so I gotta do right. I gotta do right, I gotta do right, I gotta do right. I gotta be a man and step to the plate, step to the plate. You gotta be a man and step to the plate, step to the plate. We need to be men and step to the plate, step to the plate. There's no excuse, we need to step to the plate, step to the plate. I gotta be a man and step to the plate, step to the plate. You gotta be a man and step to the plate, step to the plate. We need to be men and step to the plate, step to the plate. There's no excuse, we need to step to the plate, step to the plate. I need to get my act together, get it together. You need to get your act together, get it together. We need to get our act together, get it together. There's no excuse, get your act together. I can't be reckless, I can't be foolish, I can't be wildin'. I have kids now and I gotta do right. I gotta do right, I gotta do right, I gotta do right. I can't be wildin', I can't be foolish, I can't be reckless. Gotta protect my blessings, so I gotta do right. I gotta do right, I gotta do right, I gotta do right.
So we're talking about values here on the Heat 97.3 and how it affects our decisions and choices within our lives. Now, we talked about how parenting is a tool to teach these values to our children. And some of those values involve honesty, respect, compassion, and integrity. Also, it involves authenticity, growth, fairness, courage, and responsibility. But there are a significant amount of children that does not have parental care. And some of those children may be raised with other relatives other than mom and dad. And some of them are in the foster care system. So how is it that children that don't have parents within their lives can actually get the values that they need to thrive and succeed in life? What do people turn to when they don't have someone modeling morals, values, or being ethical. The world has an array, a plethora of different things for people to get their ideologies from. If that's music, if that's movies, if that's magazines. You know, the word says, for the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And it's not a surprise that people would do anything that they could to capture the minds of those who may be impressionable for $1. Stay tuned as we talk about bad values and how it negatively impacts the decisions and choices that we make within our lives. Here on The Heat 97.3.
Tune in to The Doc Show, your ultimate multicultural hit mix. Catch The Doc every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., playing the hottest and freshest mix of multicultural hits. The Doc brings you the best tracks from around the world. Live and exclusive, the hottest mix of global hits. Unmatched vibes every week. Don't miss out. The heat is on, and it's coming straight to your speakers. Stream us anytime at www.theheat973.com. The Doc Show, bringing the world to your ears on WJWC 97.3 FM. Feel the heat.
It's your boy Potty Ali. This is The Game, the #1 celebrity show in the world. Catch me every Saturday and Sunday on Grand Rapids on 97.3 FM, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. This is the #1 celebrity show in the world.
Make sure you tune into the Urban Mix with your boy DJ Angelic Saturdays and Sundays, 5 to 7 p.m.
What's up, West Michigan? You got DJ Jimmy Flair here at 97.3 FM. Catch me every day, Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. live here at 97.3 FM. Make sure you check me out on Facebook and Instagram at Jimmy Flair. I'll be spending the latest in the local artists. I'll be spending the latest in Top 100. Y'all make sure y'all tap in. 97.3 FM.
And I'ma stay there. You call me in your city, yeah, I probably had to play there. Keep a big chop on me in case it don't play for.
Welcome back to the new Thrive Morning Show here on The Heat 97.3. I am your host, Delvyn, and today we're talking about values and how it affects the decisions and choices within our lives. Now, at the beginning of the show, we talked about how values can be in the eye of the beholder. Pretty much what one person values, the other person may not value, and vice versa. So the thing is that we have to have an understanding that everybody doesn't come from the same place. We all have our own story. There were some people that were raised with both parents, some with one parent, and some that have not been raised by any parents at all. Maybe relatives, or maybe they got adopted or fostered, and some may have been in a group home. So some of the values that we perceive to be right doesn't necessarily mean that it's right in the eyes of other people. It's important to realize that trauma, neglect, and abuse can significantly affect the values that we have. That's why it's so important not to be judgmental, because there's times when we may see a young kid doing something, and instead of trying to teach them or guide them or show them the right way, what we do is that we shame them, we condemn them instead of loving them, not understanding what may have happened in their life. I was having a conversation with a father during one of our fatherhood sessions, and he was just informing me that he really despised his dad. He said, man, listen, my dad was not there for me. He was barely around. You ever heard of the Temptation songs? Daddy was a Rolling Stone. He said they must have wrote that for my dad because he was never there. And he pretty much was talking about how his father was abusive, how he saw how his dad treated his mom. And there was times that he wouldn't see his dad for months, sometimes years. And it was also a time where he would see his dad involve himself in alcoholism to a point where he would just fall out and be drunk for days, pretty much telling me that it was such a strain on his life that his dad wasn't there for him, and that he believed that because of that, he got involved in a lot of different things in the streets. He was looking for love in the wrong places, validation, because he didn't have a father there to guide him and mentor him and try to teach him what was right from wrong. And there's a million stories like what this father told me regarding his father. And I really believe, and I come to understand, that it is at this point of time when children may not have a father in the home or a mom or someone trying to teach them morals and values and ethics, that they become very impressionable. And like I said in the last episode, there was a time that I was very impressionable. I pretty much was drawn to what I thought looked good or something that I felt connected with me. And what connected with me specifically was hip hop. And I know there's other genres of music and there's other forms where people get influenced and are impressionable by what they see or what they hear. But hip hop was the one for me. And there were a lot of artists that went through the same situation that I was going through. When it came down to violence in the neighborhood, prostitution, when it came down to survival and sometimes being manipulative and lying just to survive, it was something that I could connect with and relate to. I'll be the first to admit that the content that I was listening to wasn't necessarily good for me at all. But when you listen to it for so long, you start to become desensitized to some of the message that's within the music. Because you have to understand, some of the rappers, I would say those that was authentic, because you had some people that fabricated their messages just to get sales. You know, that's going on today. But anyway, that's another topic for another day. But for those individuals that really came from rough places, they were actually talking about their life experiences, not having a father. And so when you have someone going into the studio talking about these things, there's a level of anger, resentment, bitterness. There's a level of feeling as if you got the short end of the stick. And sometimes some people feel like they're insignificant and without purpose. So they're communicating something that's in their heart, even though it may not necessarily be right because of their misconceptions. This is not the way that life intended to be. This is not how God designed it to be. He designed for a mother and a father to love their children, to nurture them, to guide them, to train them in the way that they should go, that when they get older, they will not depart. But when you bring sin into the picture and you bring all of the different things that goes against the model in which I believe that God created, then you have chaos.
What's good, y'all? It's your boy Delvyn from 97.3 The Heat, and you're listening to the Thrive Morning Show. Thank you for tuning in to the second episode of Values and how it affects the decisions and choices within our lives. And be sure to check out the flyer on the website for interview requests for upcoming shows. Please let me know your thoughts, how you feel about what was talked about today, or any other feedback that you may have. If you were inspired by today's show, share it with somebody else. It might help them in the future. Thanks for tuning in to Thrive Morning Show. Let's get back to the show.
So if you don't have fathers in the home and you don't have mothers, how is it that someone can differentiate what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad, what's healthy and what's unhealthy? It's really difficult to do that. So that's why it's important for us to realize that where people come from may not be a place that you came from. And we have to be more understanding and empathetic toward what they're going through and try to do our best to be that village. Remember back in the day, it said it took a village to raise a child. So if dad wasn't there, mom wasn't there, somebody stepped to the plate to ensure that that child was going to thrive and succeed in life. If that was a coach, if that was a teacher, if that was somebody that was maybe at your neighborhood community center that modeled what was the right way to live and what was not the right way to live. I have a song that I wrote entitled Dysfunctional Family to try to highlight what are some of the things that we're talking about today when it comes down to values, but really from the eyes of a child, from what they see in their immediate family, when maybe certain values and morals and ethics in which we talked about are not being displayed, but they're seeing something totally different that's shaping their personality, their character, and the way that they see life. And my primary objective in this is for us to open up our eyes and start to look around us. And instead of condemning people for what we believe they should be doing, that we would be everything we can to be who we need to be to add value to that person's life. We'll get back right after the song.
Well, I was born and shy, I wasn't born and raised. I was around 5 years when we moved away. Moms and pops got into arguments like every day. My mother got fed up, then she moved us away. But then my daddy followed with his Hennessy bottle, singing it's cheaper to keep her like he made that motto. My residence stayed hostile, I laid in my bed, looking at the ceiling, wondering what the madness in. I'm wide awake past 10 during the school night, crying hysterically, listening to my parents fight. I'm wishing that they get it right, it's really taking a toll. I'm thinking my life don't line up with the Cosby Show, cause dad's a alky, drunk, passed out on the floor. My mom's clinically depressed and can't take much more. They arguing, fighting, cussing, I can't take much more. So I cry to my sister listening through my bedroom door. My family was dysfunctional, how I was raised was dysfunctional. My childhood was dysfunctional, what I seen in her was dysfunctional. But God still loved me, and God still kept me, and God was with me. He never left me. His grace has saved me, His mercy freed me. Now I pray, Lord, use me so you get the glory. So my mother was stressed out dealing with my dad's mess. He's dating other women and possibly having sex. Spinning his thoughts to develop in my mother's chest, saying there's nothing wrong, trying to keep it quiet as kept. I know she upset, little things setting her off. Wasn't a drinker, but doesn't now to calm her thoughts a little quicker. She snapping on my older sister, whooping her to a point the welts form the blisters. My mind's getting sicker from the things I witnessed, suppressing it cause mom told me not to tell our business. I'm learning how to lie to protect our business, like those who learn a lie to get public assistance. I need some assistance, I'm 9 years old, and my dysfunctional family is out of control. Truth be told, my sister wants to run away, though it may be the best for her, I beg her to stay. My family was dysfunctional, how I was raised was dysfunctional. My childhood was dysfunctional, what I seen in her was dysfunctional. But God still loved me, and God still kept me, and God was with me. He never left me, His grace has saved me, His mercy freed me. Now I pray, Lord, use me so you get the glory. It was 2 in the morning when Dad staggered in, outrageously drunk from another night with his friends. Nearly took the door off the hinge with his excessive force. Sounded like a breaking and entering from my front porch. With little remorse, my mom stood and watched him fall as his equilibrium caused him to run in the walls. My sister and I heard it all from the top of the stairs, and I'm thinking how life's so unfair, that nobody cares, that I've been thinking I'm a mistake, that if I wasn't born things would be straight. I'm in a dire state, being rooted by the seed of hate, feeling defenseless and unsafe. Our mother all irate once she knew that we was listening in. Unplugged the phone so my sister wouldn't call it in to the police. At 3 a.m. we hitting the streets, leaving my dad while he's drunk, passed out on the sheets. My family was dysfunctional, how I was raised.
So the data shows us what happens to children that don't have fathers within the home. And this isn't a surprise, because statistically, when a father is not involved in their child's life, they are subjected to poverty. Matter of fact, fatherless families are about 4 times more likely to live in poverty without a father in the home. When it comes down to education, children from father-absent homes are significantly more likely to drop out of school. When you're talking about behavioral and mental health, 85% of children with behavioral disorders come from fatherless homes. 63% of youth suicides are linked to fatherless homes. Over 70% of adolescent patients in drug and alcohol treatment centers come from fatherless homes. 70% of juveniles in state institutions and 85% of youth in prisons are from fatherless homes. And 90% of all homeless and runaway children from fatherless homes. Think about the children that come from these places. How can we expect their values to be in the right place? And this is not to justify anybody's actions. This is not to say that what people value that isn't so good for others is the right thing to do. I'm not giving a pass for anything. But what I am saying is that if people do not know the right way to go because they was not guided in the right direction and they picked up certain things along the way that caused ideologies and strongholds and misconceptions, then I believe the best thing that we can do is love them through it and try to show them the right way. Matter of fact, I believe that Jesus said, "Forgive them, Father, they do not know what they do," when he was being crucified. So that's an indication to me that sometimes we're walking in darkness and blinded to the light. You listen to 97.3 The Heat. Stay tuned for more.
Student athletes, parents, and coaches, tune in to Jerseys for Life Radio every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'll be talking about how sports help shape your life. You can listen in online at www.theheat973.com. I'll see you there.
You are listening to the Thrive Morning Show on 97.3 FM.
All Vibe Show. Tune in to the All Vibe Show with me, DJ Queen. Catch the vibe every Tuesday and Thursday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Good music, good energy, nothing but vibes. Stream live from anywhere. www.theheat973.com.
Welcome back to the new Thrive Morning Show here on the Heat 97.3. I am your host, Delvyn, and today we're talking about values and how it affects the decisions and choices within our lives. There was this farmer that knew that there were a high demand for apples. So he wanted to ensure that he went ahead and planted the seeds because people during this time wanted apple pie, apple butter. They wanted apple strudel. So he knew that there was a high demand for it. And this was the way that he was making his living. So he goes out and he plants the seeds. And as soon as he plants the seeds, there's no rain. So he start praying and say, "Lord, please let it rain. This is how I'm taking care of my family. There's a high demand for apples. I'm trying to do the best I can to survive. I just pray that you allow it to rain." Guess what? It started raining. And he's praising God. "Lord, thank you for allowing it to rain." You know, he's happy. But then after 2 days, he realized that it hasn't stopped raining. Now he's praying, "Lord, please stop the rain. Lord, please stop the rain." So this is going on for a certain period of time. I mean, he's asking God for the rain. He's asking God for the sunlight. He's praying all these different things would happen. So after some years, while he's in his barn cutting wood, he had one of the workers out in the field. And one of the workers out in the field looked and saw that the tree was growing. So he went all the way back to the barn and told the farmer to come out. He wanted to show him exactly what was going on from the seeds that he planted. So they get on the tractor, they roll out to the field. And when they get out to the field, the farmer sees the tree. He gets off of the tractor, walks up to the tree, picks an apple off of the tree, smashed it on the ground and started stumping it with his foot. The worker got off the tractor and tackled the farmer like, man, what is you doing? Sitting up here smashing apples and throwing it all over the place. You prayed for this. And the farmer got off the ground. He said, man, get off me, man. You know, he looked at the worker. He said, man, there ain't no oranges on that tree. And as silly as that sounds, from this farmer planting apple seeds, expecting oranges, we look just as silly as the farmer when we plant seeds of hatred and discord and dishonesty and manipulation and deceit and lying and all those other things. But we expect our children to be loving and respectful and ethical and carry themselves in a respectful manner. We look just as silly as that farmer when we don't carry the values that's going to be beneficial for their lives. It's something that it takes about 5 years for an apple tree to grow. So that tells me that sometimes we plant seeds and we forget what it was that we planted. There's a word that says you reap what you sow. The Bible says that God will not be mocked. Whatever a man sows, he will reap. So just because you don't reap it right away doesn't mean a harvest is not coming. That's why it's so important for us to be mindful of how we treat others, how we carry ourselves, to have integrity. Integrity is doing the right thing even when someone is not watching. So these are things that we ought to do and that we should do. But once again, if you're not taught and you haven't been guided, or someone may have not steered you in the right direction on showing you the value of doing these things, then sometimes misled. So Delvyn, we're talking about values and what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing. And we already talked about that some of the things that may have happened in my life, even in childhood, has affected my way of thinking, created this whole perspective. Okay, I get it. But how and what should I do to have these values that's going to benefit myself and benefit others? Now, if I was to answer that question, I would have to answer it according to the scripture that I know. The scripture that I know that embodies everything when it talks about good core values is the greatest commandment. The greatest commandment is to love the Lord with all of your heart, with all of your mind, with all of your strength, and to love your neighbor as you love yourself. So if I love my neighbor, it's a pretty good chance that I'm not going to manipulate them or lie to them or try to deceive them in some shape, way, or form. I'm going to try to do my best to live at peace with them. And I want to do everything that I can to help them be the best version of the person that they can be, that they may reach their full potential in life, that they may be able to be supported in whatever aspirations or goals that they may have that is going to add value to the lives of other people. I'm going to do the very best that I can to speak with them in kindness and also do whatever I need to do to speak with them in a way that if they're doing something that is going to lead them down the wrong road, in love, I can have a conversation with them. So I really believe that the greatest commandment embodies all of the good core values that we can have for ourselves. And of course, if you don't believe in the Lord and you don't put him first, you may not know these things, but when we talk about authenticity and forgiveness and kindness and love and honesty and generosity and compassion, self-control and perseverance, guess what? All of that is in the Word of God. So I started to see for myself as I got to know him a lot better through the word, because it says faith comes by hearing and hearing of the word of God, then I started to see exactly what it was that he expected out of me and how I was to treat others and how I was to carry myself. So, you know, it's something because earlier we talked about hip hop, and there was a lot of hip hop artists that glorified not having a father and living in a area where there was drug dealing and prostitution, all the stuff that I came up with. So the thing was, though, was that they were glorifying it. But then I came across different artists that lived that same life, and they wasn't glorifying it. They started to know that that wasn't God's intention for things to be that way. Because of sin and rebellion, and because of fathers or mothers or just situations happening, it caused chaos in people's lives. So the thing was that I started listening to artists such as Lecrae and Trip Lee and Tadashi. I started listening to new artists like Forrest Frank and Bizzle and a lot of other ones as well. KB. Matter of fact, Stephen Martin from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Man, have you heard his music? I mean, he talked about growing up without a father or growing up in poverty and poverty-stricken areas. But what was meant for harm, he was able to see God turn it around for his good. And that's what we're talking about today, values. So whatever you're going through, whatever you feel like you can't escape, if you feel like there's no hope for you, I'm here to tell you today that there is hope. I'm here to tell you today that you can come out of the gutter, that the things that happen to you doesn't have to define your future.
What's good, y'all? It's your boy Delvyn from 97.3 The Heat, and you're listening to the Thrive Morning Show. Thank you for tuning in to the second episode of Values and how it affects the decisions and choices within our lives. And be sure to check out the flyer on the website for interview requests for upcoming shows. Please let me know your thoughts, how you feel about what was talked about today, or any other feedback that you may have. If you were inspired by today's show, share it with somebody else. It might help them in the future. Thanks for tuning in to Thrive Morning Show. Let's get back to the show.
I wrote a song that I believe is relevant to everything that we talked about today when it comes down to values and being a parent and trying to do whatever it is that we can to ensure that our children are being led in the right direction. The song is called Little Dude, and it's actually talking about a father not being present in his son's life and how there's a single mom trying to do the best that she could to raise her child. It also talks about some of the values that he has within the song and what ends up happening for him continuing to go down the wrong road.
Hey, check out Little Dude. Oh boy got a pimp walk. Plus he be cussing like Chris Tucker when he did Money Talks. Not scared of the cops. He 13, grabbing his jock. He has a BB gun, walking around like it's a Glock. He reads XXL in Source cause he loves hip hop. His mentality shot, he don't care if you like him or not. Little Dude is out on the block at 10 o'clock at night, learning from hustlers how to sell drugs and fight. Oh boy ain't right. He mocks the disabled type, imitating how they walk, how they read and write. He's arrogant and impolite. Oh boy, ain't nothing nice. He doesn't play video games, but he loves rolling dice for the right price. Little Dude to him, you up. I once heard he snatched the purse for a couple of bucks. Little Dude corrupt. He growing up in the rush, living life every day thinking he can't be touched. Living life every day thinking he can't be touched.
No support, lack of guidance. Crying for attention, but no one listens. Love is silent. Anger is vibrant. Led by pain, filled with pain. Controlled by pain, acting out their pain.
Hey, check out Little Dude. He a about 14 now. He's a freshman in high school, now perverted and foul. He into having sex, now we past that puberty stage. Now little dude is sex addict, plus he filled with rage. A nympho and drug user serving meth and cane. He's a popular kid, his wardrobe is off the chain. His classmates envy him, thinking he got it made. They no longer focus on grades, cause they wanna get paid. They wanna get laid, have fan clubs like Dwayne Wade. Little dude, convince him it's about material things. Old boy is ruthless, you can't look at him strange. Little dude be calling his own moms out of her name. He don't plan to change, said he gon' remain the same. I told little dude to slow down before he did her in pain. Not afraid, he looked me in my eyes and stared at me bitter. Gave me a smirk and walked away, waving his middle finger. Gave me a smirk and walked away, waving his middle finger.
No support, lack of guidance, crying for attention, but no one listens. Love is silent, anger is vibrant, led by pain, filled with pain, told by pain, acting out their pain.
Hey, there go little dude, up in his wheelchair. The scars on his face cause me not to notice him clear. Yo, that's crazy, I talked to little dude like last year, but what I was saying to him, he wasn't trying to hear. Look at his face, he has stitches from ear to ear. Through his shirt, I see a tube sticking out of his rear. As he draws near, I notice stab wounds in his arms. Back in the day, I was afraid little dude to get harmed. I wish he took alarm, he wouldn't be like this. Mark the handicapped people, now he part of that list. And his friends dip, but his mom's still right there, approaching me, pushing little dude in his wheelchair. It was hard to bear that little dude was crazy and wild, but now he's paralyzed from the waist all the way down. As crazy as it sounds, he took a knife in his back. Now little dude don't got a choice but to straighten his act. Now little dude don't got a choice but to straighten his act.
Thanks again for tuning in to Thrive Radio here on 97.3 The Heat. And I look forward to talking to you guys next week as we talk about success and how to reach our goals and dreams in life.